Good morning and welcome to today's session. We're going to be talking today about some of the most common challenges that buyers experience during the acquisition process of IT service companies. And my name is Hartland Ross. I'm the president of eBridge Marketing Solutions and founder of eBridge and the host broker and MSP broker. If you're familiar with us, you'll know that we started as a marketing firm about 20 years ago and evolved into the M&A space as a result of client demand. And today we publish a list weekly of companies for sale, specifically in the IT services space. And that we focus on MSPs, web hosting companies, data center operators, and infrastructure providers, and also are very active in the buying and selling in the secondary market of IP address blocks. If you'd like to find out any more about us, please go to our website, thehostbroker.com. You can email me personally at info@thehostbroker.com as well. And if you're interested in having a complimentary sort of evaluation of your situation, whether you be a buyer or a seller, I'd be happy to set that up with you as well. So without further ado, wanted to talk a little bit here about some of these challenges. And essentially, we're going to focus on the challenges that are associated with getting to a signed letter of intent or term sheet, if you prefer, as well as getting through the due diligence process. There are a number of other challenges, of course, as well, and I'll briefly touch on those at the end, but the primary driver will be focused on these two stages. So, of course, first problem, financing. So where is the financing going to come from? And one of the things that is key is to understand where your financing is coming from and the terms. So are you getting it from an investor? Are you getting it from a lender of some sort? Is it cash flow from operations that you've managed to save and allocate for this type of purpose? So understanding that and then relaying that to a buyer so that they have confidence in your ability to get the transaction done from a financing perspective. And so if there are going to be implications associated with timelines, for instance, if there's a lender involved, then there needs to be an approval process and the various hoops that need to be jumped through there, and any subjects that information be relayed to the seller in the interests of ensuring that everybody's on the same page. It's nothing worse than for the transaction to be delayed and the seller not having full information, getting nervous about wondering what's going on, and coming up with a lot of reasons in their mind as to why the transaction might not be closing or closing as quickly as it otherwise could. SBA process, if you're using that in the US, takes much longer than any bank will tell you. They'll tell you they need a few weeks of whatever it is, and they'll need these 20 items. The reality is it will take far longer, and they'll need 100 items. And every time you give them a little bit more information, they're going to need a little bit more information. So just recognize that estimate will need to be padded, and presumably that most of the time, the seller will be aware that you're getting funding from the SBA, but if they're not, then you may need to kind of share with them a little bit more information about that process. Another important aspect of the SBA process is that there are two types of banks, two types of lenders, ones who have the ability to make decisions out of their location and approve the loans, and others that need to run it up the flagpole, so to speak, and seek approval from either a head office with the SBA authority themselves. And if that's the case, of course, there's going to be delays. So understanding what abilities and capabilities your particular bank and branch has in this specific instance. And then the reality is that there are challenges with vendor and bank financing in terms of getting a deal done. So if you're going up against groups that have cash on hand, then you're going to be at a disadvantage if you're having to jump through the hoops and inevitably take longer with going through the process of getting the financing through from a bank. And similarly, but a little bit different, if you're going to be getting financing through the vendor, in other words, through the seller themselves, and then there's going to be a harder time kind of getting those deals done, because there needs to be some incentive for the vendor to be able to provide that financing. Either they've struggled with trying to find a buyer in the first place, in which case they might be a little bit more flexible and lenient in terms of providing that sort of financing, or the payment terms and or the offer will need to just be that much better in order to beat out, if you like, the other offers that presumably they would have available to them. So the second piece where we see challenges is groups that don't necessarily have an established process. They've heard that M&A may be the next best thing, and that this is a strategy that others have recommended, and so they're sort of pursuing this for the first time. And in these instances, there's a sort of a disorganized sort of shotgun approach that we sometimes see. And so my recommendation is that, first of all, you have a due diligence list that you've created in advance, and that process be divided into a number of components. So you've got the questions related to financial, and those that are related to operational and technical, and so forth. And that you work through those systematically, and that you have a lead person who's going to lead each one of those areas. Now, it doesn't mean to say that one person can't take on more than one area, but that there's clear sort of differentiators there in terms of who the leads are, and that those people have the right connections on the seller's side to be able to get that information. And in some cases, it may just be that the buyer, which is you perhaps as an owner of the business, and the seller, who also is the owner of the business, and all information is being communicated with just the two parties. And that may well be, or there may be a team of people on one or both sides of the transaction. But it's important that a process be followed. And I specifically recommend focusing on what I call the deal killer issues first. And these are oftentimes, anyway, not that there aren't others, but that there's customer concentration. So, oh, geez, I didn't realize that 80% of your revenue is coming from two customers. And if those were to leave, the business is essentially going to be gone. Understanding that the revenue actually exists, and the type of revenue. So what percentage of the revenue is recurring? For instance, is there any prepaid revenue, so deferred revenue that's been referred to as deferred revenue? Customer churn, are the customers leaving for any particular reason? Is it higher than normal? Has it been pretty sort of standard and flat in terms of churn? What does that look like? And are there contracts in place with the customers? What do those look like? Can those customers' contracts be assumable? If they can't be, then essentially the customers would have a reason for being able to break those contracts. So as a buyer, you're going to want to check that. As a seller, you're going to want to ensure that you have assumable contracts. So generally speaking, you're going to start with the financial elements of doing these transactions first, and then go into the operational and technical aspects. My experience has generally been that the operational and technical issues can be worked out, and that it's more a matter of how it's gone about and how the deal is structured than it is about whether to go about moving forward with the deal or not. So financials will potentially kill the deal. The others just sort of create perhaps some friction in terms of how it gets done, but don't necessarily derail the whole process. So this is not a comprehensive list. There are other elements as well that could be deal killers, but these are some examples. Know what you're looking for. So it's one of those similar to that old saying, which is you don't know which path to or what direction you want to go in. Any path will take you there. So be clear on how the opportunity fits into your strategic plan, and be prepared to support why it's a fit. And what I've seen some groups do, and I think this has been very effective, is to be able to provide a bit of a narrative, a bit of a qualitative story on why you think that the opportunity might be a good fit. And that this could be included in a letter format, in a letter of intent, or it could be included as a separate letter, accompanying the letter of intent, or perhaps a conversation. But I think that ideally something that's written down goes a long way to instilling confidence, and essentially would talk a little bit about your background, your company's background, the opportunity that the seller has, why you think that there would be a good fit, whether it be a customer fit, whether it be a technical fit, geographical, it plays into your strategic plan, cultural elements, etc. And to try to make a strong case that there is a good fit there will go a long way to providing some reassurance to the seller. And recognizing that in a lot of instances, it's more than just a financial decision for the seller, that there's also these qualitative aspects as well around how competent is the seller, how much experience do they have, are they going to take care of the customers, are they going to take care of the employees, and to the extent that you can reassure them of all of these things and that you're a better fit will help support your offer, even if it's not the top offer. Secondly, make sure that you know that you can afford the opportunity. So you've obviously had to run the numbers, looking at what your ROI needs to be to have it make sense, and to know kind of when to stop. And we talked a few minutes ago about the deal killer issues. So not only starting with those, which I said in the beginning, but actually understanding what those are and be clear on what you're interested in and what you're not interested in. So some examples here, essentially moving on to how you're going to service these customers. I mean, if some of them need to be serviced in person, and Johnny needs to go out and be on location once a week on Fridays with one customer in particular, and somebody else needs to go somewhere else on another day, are these customers that you're going to want to continue to service? And if not, then this opportunity might not be for you if it's a requirement from the customer's perspective that someone be on site to support them. A lot of times it's a preference, but it's not a requirement. Would you entertain buying the real estate? So if there was an office, a lot of times there may be an office, sometimes a data center that's part of the transaction. It may be optional, it may be required. Usually it's optional, but if it is required, or even if it isn't, is it something that you would entertain? Are you interested in the real estate piece, or is it just simply the business? Are you interested in buying 100% of the business? What if it was a portion of the business that was being sold? For instance, there's a couple of partners. One partner wants to exit, the other one doesn't. One doesn't want to buy the other one out, or is not in a position to buy them out. Are you interested in taking over a portion of the business? Are there any types of customers that you aren't wanting to work with and support? So particular industries, profiles, size. Sometimes it comes up, particularly in the hosting space, around adult customers. So how are these going to be handled? Again, putting barriers and boundaries around what is workable for you and what isn't. So understanding what you're prepared to pay for, and I talked a minute ago about ROI. So recognize that most transactions will have a 30 to 50% down on close in terms of the initial payment, and this is primarily for MSPs. Hosting and data center businesses can be quite a bit higher than that, but typically 30 to 50% on close for an MSP, and so the balance of those payments are going to be paid out either as an earn-out or some kind of note payable. And so understanding what you're prepared to put down, what kind of an ROI you're looking to realize, and how you would structure the earn-out. The biggest concern that a seller has, of course, is, well, am I going to actually ever realize the rest of the payment terms. There's payments over 12 months or 18 months. Are they actually going to get paid? And so being very clear about what's going to constitute any kind of an adjustment to an earnout is going to be very important. And it may seem easy, but what happens in situations where there's been a bad experience up until close, and then there's another bad experience by the new buyer, and that's the straw that broke the camel's back. Whose fault is it really? Does it make sense to share that burden, and it may be worded in the agreement one way, but that may or may not necessarily be the fair way to go. So to talk through under what circumstances the buyer would be responsible, and under what circumstances the seller would be, and therefore what circumstances there would be an adjustment to that earnout. And are you looking to hire the seller? If so, is that a requirement? For how long? Under what terms? Are they going to be paid? If they're going to be paid, when does that kick in? Typically, there would be a period of time where the seller needs to provide transition support regardless. That would just be a standard process, but that they're not working in the business. They're simply answering questions related to running of the business so that the buyer can take that over. And if the situation presents itself where there's an opportunity to hire the seller for more than that, so the seller can continue to support the role that they're in, or even a new role, how are they going to be compensated for that? And also making sure that you talk through with them about their ability to shift from the decision maker and one who sort of buck stops with them to now being in a position where they're going to have to take some direction. And that's not to be underestimated, the challenges with that kind of a shift. Understanding and discussing key deal terms early on. So price, purchase price, payment terms, well, that one's generally one of the first things that's discussed. But there are other aspects, and sometimes these things don't rear their ugly heads until the kind of 11th hour, when an attorney has put forward modifications, red lines to agreements, purchase agreements, and in some cases it might not even come on the first go round, although it should. So I'm thinking about indemnification caps. So in the event that there's a breach or a representation or a warranty, to what degree is the seller going to be responsible? And standard would be that they would be responsible for a value up to the value of the transaction. So if there's a $3 million transaction, that would be their cap in terms of their liability. But sometimes sellers not willing to do that. They don't want to take any provide any indemnifications, or they're going to cap it at some nominal number that's drastically less than the value of the opportunity. And of course, this also is important to understand whether it's a stock deal or an asset deal, because there's different exposure there for the buyer depending on which routes taken. Also, that there's an agreement between the breakdown of goodwill versus assets in the purchase price, and this has implications from a tax perspective, and that both parties need to agree. So again, sometimes I've seen challenges where this isn't agreed to. With managed service providers, there's generally speaking not a lot in the way of assets. It's primarily goodwill, and so there's not a lot of debate. But in instances where there's a lot of infrastructure, it can be more contentious, if you like. Make sure that the seller understands the tax consequences of the transaction. So we've also seen it in cases where an offer is made and sort of verbally almost accepted, paperwork's not yet signed. Seller goes to their attorney or tax advisor and discusses the implications for them personally from a tax perspective, discovers that, well, lo and behold, they're only going to get a fraction of what they thought they were going to get, and it doesn't make sense anymore. And so Now, not only does it kill the deal, but probably if you're at market and the numbers are not workable, then it's probably going to kill the opportunity for the seller entirely to find anybody that they're going to be able to get a deal done with. So making sure that that piece is covered off as well. Legal jurisdictions can be a challenge sometimes. Typically, if that's put forward in the term sheet or letter of intent, that's the time when it gets picked up and discussed. But and oftentimes it's going to be the same jurisdiction. But just to talk through that, because if particularly, and this is a more problematic with international transactions than it is for domestic, but still there may be some concerns around the state that's chosen for jurisdiction. And then liabilities associated with employment obligations, understanding that those exist and that they're prior to close, they're going to be for the seller to have to manage, and then post-close, the buyer would take those employees over and essentially start new. So the employees are typically terminated and then rehired immediately by the buyer, assuming that it's an asset transaction. If not, then there needs to be discussions around liabilities associated with unpaid holidays and sick days and so forth. Some more points related to this number 5. So will you as a buyer require some kind of as a seller require some sort of personal guarantee, or is there something else that could give the seller some reassurance that they're going to get paid? That's ultimately their biggest concern. And so could a lien be used, a lien on equipment? That's often another option. So the sellers may require this. As a buyer, you may or may not be open to this. So again, kind of going back to your expectations and sort of what's negotiable for you. Clearly articulate under what circumstances the seller will not receive the full payout. So we talked about that, particularly in cases where there's an earnout, but it's not the only case. Maybe that it's not an earnout, it may just be payment terms, but that in some cases, they may not be fully paid out. And what do those look like? Again, this is just really a matter of expectations and making sure that all parties are on the same page. And to the extent that these things can be alleviated in advance, creates the trust and provides a bit of a greasing of the wheels for these transactions. Another area that we've seen challenges is putting forward a formula for the valuation to allow for changes. So what happens if a customer leaves during due diligence? The price has been agreed to, and now all of a sudden the revenue is less than what it was before. How is that going to be adjusted? If the multiple is a multiple of EBITDA, then now we've got a customer who's left. We need to rework this and create a new valuation. We've had arguments in the past from groups that have said, well, really, there's a lot of fixed cost here. The customer that's left is essentially nothing but profit. And so we're not going to deduct their contribution or their kind of gross profit, but we're going to adjust the full revenue contribution that this customer is bringing to the books. And that's not really a fair way of doing it. Just because the last customer is last doesn't mean to say that they should be treated any differently than the first customer. So looking at ways that the evaluation is going to be adjusted for any kind of changes. And frankly, the changes could be upwards as well. All of a sudden, a new customer is signed on, and now the buyer wants to the seller, wants to get value for that customer or that partner, and how's that going to be handled? I mentioned adjustments for deferred revenue. So in cases where there have been prepayments for some period of time for whatever reason, again, not often that common in MSPs, certainly a little bit more common in the hosting industry. And so how is that going to be handled? And then assumption of expenses and what if this changes? So again, prepaid expenses and who's going to be handling expenses up to what point. Typically, close is the delineation line, and those expenses that were for periods prior to close are to be taken and paid for by the buyer. Excuse me, regardless of whether the buyer has prepaid for them or not. That would be an adjustment, but nonetheless, that they're responsible for the period up until close. Discuss transition support together. So what are the expectations of the seller in terms of support? Are they willing to provide support? And hopefully they are, they should. But for what period of time? How many hours a week? How many months? What, if any, compensation are they expecting as part of that process? And what role do you require of them? And what role do they see themselves playing? Are staff being included? And if so, is it the entire team? Is it just select individuals? How are you going to go about that? And this is important from the perspective that sellers oftentimes have some loyalty to their teams, and they want to make sure that their teams have been taken care of. And so if you're only taking some of those customers or some of those employees, how is that going to be viewed? Which ones? And salaries and whatnot. It's a bit tricky to vet these individuals prior to close, because in most cases the staff are not aware of the transaction, but it is possible to attach kind of an anonymized ID or initials or something to the team, and put titles and history and information about the roles that they play, and kind of a qualitative summary of your thoughts as a seller to be able to provide those to the buyer for evaluation purposes. All right, moving on. So number 7, and this is a really important one with respect to keeping the deal moving. And this concept of deal fatigue is real. It can set in at a kind of a point beyond where timelines were originally set. So if due diligence and the deal was supposed to complete within 60 days and you're now at 65 days, this is the start of frustration if it hasn't already set in by that point. And in some cases, it may be that the blame lies on both sides. In other cases, it may not. And a lot of times, the one side will feel that they're the ones who are keeping the ball moving, and it's the other side causing the delays. Of course, in some cases, those delays may be external, an external attorney who's involved and who's preoccupied with other projects and clients. And so they sit on an agreement for 2 weeks before they get a chance to look at it. Meanwhile, time's ticking away in the letter of intent terms that were originally provided. So another element to this is it's not always, I think, fully appreciated, is that sellers will give preference in some instances to a first come, first serve type scenario. So if they receive a number of different offers and hard to kind of evaluate them because seemingly they're all pretty similar, or they're all have their pros and cons, but are all relatively even in their mind in terms of which one they go with. The group that came in initially with their offer and who moved the fastest is oftentimes the one that will get it, all else being equal. So just recognize that showing your kind of eagerness is valued. There's also an argument to be said to come in at the end with an offer and not have your offer sort of played against everybody else and sort of swoop in with a higher offer at the end. But that there's a little bit more risk associated with that for a variety of reasons. One of which, of course, is that you wouldn't be the first to kind of demonstrate eagerness to getting the deal done. Turning the red line purchase agreements around quickly, this is a challenge that usually falls on the lap of the attorney. And as I mentioned, that they may have other projects, they may be in court, they may be on holidays. And all of these things were going to cause delay. Yet it will reflect poorly on the party who's hired that attorney. So having a discussion with that group in advance, and any other advisors, frankly, in advance, so that they can be privy to timelines and can continue to move the ball forward. And to be prepared to allocate the time. Obviously, as a buyer, the buyer's got to continue to run their business, assuming that they have a business. And the seller, of course, needs to continue to run their business. And so this is going to take time from both sides, and both sides need to be able to allocate that time. And that may mean allocating some of their other responsibilities to other people on the team, or frankly, just working late and evenings and weekends to be able to get the deal done. Also, staying in regular communication, as came up earlier in the presentation here and discussion, was talking to, and this goes both ways, but particularly from a buyer's perspective, where there may be delays, whether they be with their attorney or it might be something personal. It may be something that came up in due diligence that they weren't expecting, but to relay those challenges and to relay them early to the seller. The seller is going to be much more understanding if they know what's going on, then they're just kept in the dark, and day after day, week after week, there's kind of not really much happening, not much is going on. They've put files in a data room to be reviewed. It's clear if those files have been opened or not, and there's been no interaction. It just creates a lot of frustration and doesn't set the right tone for getting a deal done. Also, not overpromising and under-delivering, as with anything in life. But this has to do with timelines. It has to do with other commitments in the process to follow through with essentially the terms that were originally outlined in the letter of intent. 8, establish and maintain trust. So a lot of the things that I've talked about so far relate to trust. And to that end, as a buyer, if you've done other transactions that you can provide references for, that will go a long way in alleviating some of the concerns that buyers might have. Again, it shows competency. It shows that other sellers have been paid where their payment terms, and that alleviate concerns that the seller might have that they're not going to receive those ongoing payments. Focus on building rapport throughout the process, and this again speaks to kind of maintaining those lines of communication when there's challenges, to bring those challenges up, and to have candid conversations. And of course, with COVID right now, it's difficult, but in-person meetings certainly can help with that process, and establish more rapport than otherwise would happen on a phone call. So if it's possible, if it makes sense to do something in person, I highly recommend it. And think about the rapport as more of an investment in this process rather than a kind of a waste of time. It really goes a long way towards when there are challenges, to getting out of those challenges. And it's not until there are challenges that you'll be happy that you have the rapport that you did. So investing in that all the way along, and kind of having a personal relationship in the process is important. And then this last one, understanding the motivations of the seller. I think all too often this piece is not kind of kept in mind. So remembering what the seller has told you if you're a buyer, as to why they're selling and what their challenges are, listening and talking to an advisor, broker, if you're working with someone like us, where we can either relay some of that or pick up on some of these things ourselves, where there may be some challenges. It may be, they talk about selling for personal reasons. Well, it turns out the personal reasons is that their partner has been diagnosed with some kind of terminal illness, and so or maybe they've got another project that they need financing for, and there's a deadline coming up. So they need this transaction to close, and they need the funds for this to be able to support their other projects. They may be concerned about making sure that you as a buyer are going to be hiring and supporting their employees, and if you have a similar culture that they do, that you're going to be supporting their customers and providing similar levels of service. A lot of times a seller has become friends with their customer base over the years, and they're going to see them and have interactions with them in the future, not necessarily from a business perspective, but for other reasons. And they want to be able to look them in the eye and know that whoever they sold the business to is going to be confident to be able to support them. I put this one here, overzealous attorneys. I wouldn't say it happens regularly, but it absolutely happens. And as you can probably imagine, slows the process down considerably. You get an attorney who takes an agreement with black font, and it comes back marked up. It's got so much red and blue that it's overwhelming and frustrating, and really can change the path of the transaction from that point forward. So the focus of attorneys is to protect their clients, and both sides are hiring them to protect themselves, but they're not there to get a deal done. And they have no vested interest. They don't care whether the deal gets done or not. They get paid either way. But if they are too overreaching, the seller may just get too frustrated and walk away. And it goes the other way as well, absolutely. But oftentimes it's the buyer that ends up overreaching more so than the seller. And that if that happens, they lose trust and become frustrated, and the sentiment at that point and the ability to negotiate entirely changes. And then the last one is just related to customer and staff churn. So I always recommend what I call rocking the boat as little as possible. So as a buyer, not the best idea to come in and on day one start changing pricing, changing the processes for the employees and the customers, updating SLAs that are more limiting. Obviously, if you're providing more service and reducing prices, or providing better service, or expanded services, or expanded offerings, or whatnot, these are all good things. But to the extent that you're providing more of a limited experience, it's going to cause challenges and frankly lead to customers leaving, response times not as good as they used to be, etc. And not to say that you can't make changes, just not a great idea to make them all on day one, and also to consult with the seller as to what changes are going to be kind of well received. And so if there's an alignment of company culture, then the staff are going to be, that you've taken over, are going to be happy. Happy staff typically will alleviate some or all of the customer churn. And it's when the staff are unhappy that they provide poor service, and then the poor service translates into customer churn, particularly when the customers have got experience working with those staff for a period of time, and now that experience changes as a result of the staff not being happy. So I said I was going to focus on the process of getting to the LOI and getting through due diligence. I just wanted to add in a couple of extra points here, which are probably worthwhile noting. So some other challenges is building your team with your own set of coaches, not having the right people in your corner, so to speak, and to get those people in your corner before you start looking at transactions. So having conversations with your attorneys to say that this is your plan, similarly with your CPA or accountant, and that you ideally are working with a broker of some sort. Obviously that would be our role in this case, but someone who can ask the right questions and help get the information and help evaluate the information as it comes back and negotiate a deal. And that you've allocated sufficient time for the process and keep up the momentum. So in cases where you're trying to get a deal done by the end of the year, and you're starting this process, first week of December, we've got Christmas holidays coming up at that point, and it's just not realistic to get done. So make sure you've got sufficient time and you keep the process moving, as we discussed before. And if it is your first deal or even second deal, I always suggest starting with smaller opportunities and moving to larger deals. Sometimes we end up with groups that are looking to do a 5 or 10 or $50 million transaction, and they have never done a transaction before in their life. And they clearly don't really know what they're doing. They don't have a process, and they're certainly over their skis. And so there's always going to be learnings and things that you wish you'd done differently. And I think it makes sense to start on the small opportunities. Frankly, if it's going to be a cost associated with these learnings, which usually there's at some level some cost that you can attribute, that happens at a smaller scale, and it'll be a little bit less painful. And then the other challenge, of course, is just finding opportunities in the first place. So never mind going through the negotiation process to get to an LOI and a closed deal. But what about just even finding these opportunities and being a successful bidder? So how can you find opportunities? Looking at doing direct outreach to targeted groups is one option. The challenge is if you've probably experienced yourself, is the lot of noise going on right now in the market. There's a lot of private equity groups and others who either themselves or have hired somebody to do outreach and generate leads for them. And so a lot of sellers are fielding a lot of calls and emails. And so it's not easy to kind of cut through that noise. And other options include monitoring lists such as ours, obviously, where there's opportunities being published. Ours gets published on a weekly basis. Another source we've seen a reasonable amount of is members who are part of peer groups, and either their peer group shares an opportunity that they're not interested in with the rest of their peers, or in some cases, one of the members of the peer group decides that they're interested in kind of moving on and selling, and the natural place for them to discuss this and bring it up and see if there's any interest is the groups that they've been a part of and a member of, and sharing their experiences and challenges with over a period of time. So becoming a member of these peer groups, and there's lots of them, and I can certainly direct you to some if you're looking, but that's another good source. And then of course attending conferences, although that's a little bit tricky in terms of how to go about doing it, a bit of a needle in the haystack, but inevitably there are going to be groups at conferences. It's just a matter of how to find them and strike up those conversations. So with that, just like to thank you very much for listening here to today's session. And if you have any questions at all, please reach out. You can reach me and us at info@thehostbroker.com, and also our website, thehostbroker.com, contact us form. If you want to subscribe to our list, please go to our site and do so. It's free to subscribe, and you'll receive the mailings every week. It is a double opt-in, so just be sure you check your inbox to hit the confirmation. Thank you very much, and appreciate your time, and please continue to monitor this channel as we run webinars on a regular basis. Thanks so much. Bye now.